Hello. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for all your patience. I hope you enjoyed the presentation by Wadhwani Foundation. We thank the Wadhwani team for helping our students kickstart their entrepreneurship journeys. Next, we have the panel discussion on creating startup corridors for student-led innovation and entrepreneurship. We have a very august panel today, and without much ado, let us welcome them on the stage. So we have with us Ms. Sunita Singh, the Executive Vice President, Wadhwani Foundation, and co-founder, National Entrepreneurship Network. We would invite Amit sir to hand over a bouquet to her. So how many of you have heard of the launch of Agniban? Yeah. So how many of you have heard of the launch of Agniban, India's first 3D printed rocket? Yes, so we have with us Professor Satya Chakravarty, the Institute Professor, IIT Madras, and co-founder, Tutr Hyperloop, Agnikul Cosmos, GalaxEye, and more. Next, we have with us Mr. Raghuttama, CEO, Gopalakrishnan-Deshpande Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, IIT Madras. Next, we have with us Mr. Swadeep Pillarisetti, PanIIT Startup Chair, PIWOT, a serial entrepreneur and startup advisor, sitting on the board of KoinX, Morph, and AutoNxt. Last but not the least, and in fact the most important for all startups, we have Mr. Manu, Iyer, the Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director, Blue Hill Capital. He sits on the board of Fine, Rapti, and Detect Technologies. So let's have a huge round of applause for all our panelists. So we'll be starting off with this panel discussion. As mentioned earlier, the topic is creating startup corridors for student-led innovation and entrepreneurship. And I'm Vishakh, I'll be the moderator for this panel. So we already had a very crisp introduction of all our panelists, but of course, right, that does not do justice to the level of high achievers they are, right? So the audience would like to know their own personal journeys. So let us start with your personal journeys. Let us know what were the points of inflection in your life that changed your trajectory, your career to what you are today. So let's start with Professor Satya.
Hello, I'm a professor of aerospace engineering at IIT Madras. Start of the career is typically college, I guess, I don't know. So went to IIT Madras for my bachelor's in aerospace engineering, went to Georgia Tech for my master's and PhD. After a couple of years of postdoc, came back to IIT Madras to join the faculty at aerospace engineering. Went through my career progression for the first 10 years. And then I actually had the opportunity to work with a bunch of my colleagues to establish the National Center for Combustion R&D, which is a fairly large undertaking by itself. At the end of which we had this opportunity to foster startups that were sort of deep tech startups using the facilities that we had. And that's when Agnikul, Aerostovelos, X2Fuels, ePlane, GalaxEye, Vishakh, Hyperloop, all of that stuff started happening. And I myself actually got into like an entrepreneurial journey with ePlane while I was advising and supporting the other startups. Yeah.
Hello, I am Raghuttama, Raghu. I graduated recently from this institute in 1984. So, worked for a few years, and then I went to Carnegie Mellon around 25 years back. Came back, started a company which my employer invested in. Got kicked out of that company after 15 years. I was figuring out what to do when two gentlemen by the name Dr. Deshpande and Chris Gopalakrishnan, who were also alums from here, made the mistake of recruiting me to run a center. It goes by the name Gopalakrishnan-Deshpande Center, and one of the big mistakes we did was we had Satya for our second cohort. so we made a lot of nice mistakes along the way. And I've been here now for about 7 years. I run this center. And we've done about 400 startups, startup teams, people like you, right? And this is with about 75 colleges besides IIT Madras. So this is not just IIT Madras specific. I also research and teach in the area of climate finance. So that's my happy hobby. Great to be here.
First of all, thank you, Vishakh, and the entire team here, IIT Madras team, for inviting. Thank you. It's definitely an honor. Always when alma mater calls, you come, right? Just happened to be a good coincidence. This is Swadeep here, Swadeep Pillarisetti. I'm also an alumnus of IIT Madras. Just couple of years after Mr. Rao, but 2001. So now last 2 decades, went to the US like many of us, right? Masters, PhD, Georgia Tech. I was a scientist for many years, University of Chicago, Northwestern. I was always interested in cutting edge tech, right? So IoT wearables, remote patient monitoring. This is like 2003-04, there was no IoT then. Artificial heart valves and, in the biomedical space. And then after a decade there, the entrepreneurial bug bit me. So I came back to India, scaled a couple of companies. Last few years, very active in the startup ecosystem. And actually, very coincidentally, this topic is very close to my heart about student-led startups, because most of my companies that I'm mentoring right now are student-led startups. In fact, a couple of them I'll talk more maybe during the talk, is a company where, in fact, even Manu is invested, a company called AutoNxt, AutoNxt. They're India's first electric self-driving tractor. We just raised 28 crores actually. So yeah, and these guys are, but kudos to the gentleman who actually started this, right? 7 years ago, of course, I've been mentoring him for 7 years. He was a final year student. So if he can do it, why can't you? He's not an IITian, right? And so I'm just saying, this is giving an example, but there are many more, right? KoinX is India's first taxation platform for crypto investors, right? He's the largest now in the country. We have retrofitting from, in fact, IIT Madras alum. He was also a final year student in SRM University. And now he's converting all the petrol vehicles to electric at half the cost of a new EV. So morphelectric.com, you can check it out. So all these are young student-led startups that are actually the final year or just graduated, and they can do it, why can't you, right? So mentoring multiple companies like that, we'll dive into more details later, but over to Manu.
Hey. Thanks, Swadeep. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. So me and Sunita ma'am were just discussing while we were waiting. You guys are a very patient and driven bunch. Everyone's been quietly waiting, for the last half an hour, 45 minutes. So it's fantastic to see that there is so much interest in what I thought would be a fairly low-key panel, minus Professor Satya. So yeah, fantastic to see all of you. Fantastic to see you guys here. I'm Manu. I run Blue Hill Capital. I'm also one of now 4 alums on the. I just checked with ma'am if she was also IIT Madras alum. So one of 4 alums on the dais today, including Vishakh 5. So 2005 I passed out ALEC, and so fantastic to be here. I worked in the US in finance for a little bit, came back to India, did an algo fund actually for a short while, And for the last 7 years, I've been investing in the deep tech ecosystem. And we are now running a 400 crore fund focused on deep tech investments. So it's really exciting to see the energy, the interest, the enthusiasm from young guys such as yourselves, and happy to take the conversation forward wherever there is interest. Look forward to speaking to you guys.
Hi, everybody. So, like Manu mentioned, I'm not from IIT. Not from IITM and not from any other IIT either. Mine, I would say, is an accidental career. And accidental not because, I just stumbled upon it, but accidental because I just wanted to work. And it wasn't a given in my time to just work. I feel actually a little sad to see that there are still very few women in the audience here. I wish there were more. But I'm very glad that you are all here representing, the big bunch of smart young women that are out there in the world. So thank you for being here. So my career started in media at a time when television was just booming in the country. And very quickly from there, I got, without actually understanding that I was bitten by the startup bug, I actually did get bitten by the startup bug. A bunch of us started a small media company, which actually didn't last beyond 18 months. My first big failure. But we went on to then do a different kind of a startup. I became part of a national PR agency that we were setting up, and that did really well. And we went on to be very successful with lots of international clients, doing communications and media for them. From there, I came into the Wadhwani Foundation when Wadhwani Foundation was just one person, the CEO and nobody else. It was one person and the founder, I mustn't forget that, Dr. Ramesh Wadhwani, and a very large vision. And I think sometimes that is enough. In fact, often that is enough. That's what I have found. A vision to truly transform something can be extremely gripping, and that's what happened to me. Jumped with both my feet in, not knowing what we're going to do, by the way, and figured things out as we went along. And fairly nicely, I would say. Today, we are operating out of 4 different continents, doing entrepreneurship, innovation, skilling across these. We already work with more than 100,000 students in skilling, 30 to 40,000 students in entrepreneurship, and then a few hundred startups. And our vision is to really hit 1 million in 2-3 years, if not more. We are on a path. Thank you. Why do we care about that? Simply because India is, if we look at only India, forget the rest of the world that we are operating in. We only operate in emerging economies, by the way. But if you look at even India, it's a very large country. And if I look at what stands out as entrepreneurial ecosystems that are thriving, it's a handful. 900 plus incubators. But when you look at the lists of the top incubators that are really doing some good work, a dozen of them show up in any of the articles that you have out there. That is truly a travesty in my view. It shouldn't be. We have very smart young people. You've all traveled from across the country, as I know, and you've been spending time here over these past few days. And there are many more like you out there. So how do we take this? How do we take resources that can truly inspire, that can truly motivate young people to be entrepreneurs? how do we bring learning and networks and engagements with entrepreneurs for them? It doesn't matter if they're sitting in Guwahati or they're sitting in Siliguri or anywhere else. That's the mission that we are on, truly democratize and catch every spark that's out there in every corner of this country and beyond, and see if we can open up a pathway for them to move towards their dream of setting up a venture successfully. Thank you.
Ma'am, I'll just make one comment. 2005, my batch of electrical engineering, 120 students, there were 3 girls. So I think we're still much better off. I see a whole bunch of them out there in the back and quite a few of them. So there is definite progress since then.
That's the difference between a man and a woman. He sees that there is some progress. I see that it's not fast enough, it's not enough. Because I know there are many, many very smart young women out there who can do wonders. And in fact, wherever they are competing, they're leaving men behind.
Very well said. Okay. So how many of you actually want to be a founder of some amazing startup? Right? So this is the trend nowadays, right? Everyone wants to be a startup founder. Everyone wants that co-founder tag on their LinkedIns. So, but is starting up meant for everyone? That's a fundamental question that we need to answer, right? So let's hear your views on that. Is starting up meant for everyone? And if yes, so what's the path everyone should tread?
Yeah, I think I would be careful to tread that path of entrepreneurship myself anytime, any further times. I always ask this question to myself: why am I actually having employees in my startup when they could actually go out and start up by themselves? So there is obviously a distinction between people who actually like to work for others versus people who want to set it out by themselves. I think it's probably some DNA stuff. I don't know exactly what that is, but definitely it's very risky. And you got to be absolutely sure about why you want to do this. And that should probably be driven by passion. And the passion is not just to be an entrepreneur. The passion should actually be to solve a problem that impacts people. You should be solving a pain point for people that has a certain market that you can try to monetize. That's essentially the operating principle. So this is my personal opinion. Remove the you from the scene, and the problem, the pain point, the solution, the market, all of that stuff should actually stand alone by themselves. And you just say that, okay, I seem to be the instrument that happens to actually unlock the solution potential in this case. While there, the dharma is that I make the money and get out of here. This is the problem statement of entrepreneurship. Okay, so are you the guy who will actually, guy or girl, who will want to actually get into that little ball of problem solution, framework that is actually meeting people's, some customers, purpose? That's actually the most important thing. It's not about you at all. It's not about the actual person. Each of us is actually just an instrument to solve problems for others. So think about it that way. Maybe you will not bother about your LinkedIn profile anymore.
Is entrepreneurship for you, or is entrepreneurship for me? I'll rephrase the question and unpack it in 2 ways. That kind of begs like a yes or no answer, and no doesn't sound good. So I would actually say, can anyone become an entrepreneur? And my answer is yes. But should you become an entrepreneur? So that's the second part that you should ask yourself. Many youngsters I come across, feel that entrepreneurship is like a title. I want to have it. I'm an entrepreneur. They've carried like a badge of honor on their sleeve. And like Professor Satya said, that's not the way to look at it. I would say look at two words, a related word. Become entrepreneurial first. You've got to become, and everyone should become entrepreneurial. I think there is no choice. Even a professor should become entrepreneurial. Even a researcher should become entrepreneurial. Exactly. He runs the largest, one of the largest research centers in IIT and in the country here, in IIT here. A very leading international center for combustion research. So like that, there are 100 centers here. You have to raise money. You have to solve problems. You have to be entrepreneurial to do that. To become an entrepreneur means there are many other things. It should suit your personality. It should suit your circumstances. It should suit your family set. There are many things to happen. And entrepreneurship is actually a calling. You will get it. When I was a student, as a student, started 40 years back, I just wanted to go and be a good engineer. That's it. Somewhere I got this bug of being an MBA, and I got that. It's not enough. I went to the US, and what I saw in the US, I said, look, I think we're living on another planet. We should come back and do something. And that was my motivation. I couldn't wait to come back. I mean, I had to do it. That's what I mean by saying entrepreneurship is a calling. Being entrepreneurial is a no-brainer, just do it. Become entrepreneurial in whatever your career, your vocation, whatever you're doing. But entrepreneurship, you will get to know. Don't do it because, that's the flavor of the season. That's a wrong thing to do. Whether it's a problem, whether it's a passion, all of that have to come together. And when you get up at 3 in the morning and say, look, I got to solve that problem, then you know that the bug has bitten you. Until then, continue to do whatever else you're doing. That's all.
So I completely echo what Professor Satya said, Mr. said, right? No doubt about it. It has to be a calling. See, entrepreneurship sounds very sexy, right? Outside you see, oh, V.S. Vijay Shekhar Sharma, oh my God, look at these, all these folks who are raising so much money, and no, maybe that's a wrong example right now. But there's so many other unicorn founders, outside, right, who are doing well, and, they're on the poster boys, right? Ola and Bhavesh, and there's so many names. I don't want to single out one or two, but I'm saying you see all the successes, but for every one success, there are also 10, 20, 50, 60, 100 failures behind them, right? So I'm not trying to discourage you. I myself have been an entrepreneur. In fact, I still am helping and mentoring multiple entrepreneurs. But it's not easy, right? For every one success, I've also gone through 2, 3 failures, right? So you please understand, just because you see outside like a nice tag, oh, I'm founder, it has to be a strong why. It cannot be like, okay, you know what, I just want to be an entrepreneur. This is like, as you said, flavor of the day, right? It's cool and sexy to be an entrepreneur, to be a founder. You have to have a strong reason to do it, right? And the burning desire, not just to become an entrepreneur, but is there something that you want to solve? And that's like haunting you. Yaar, ye to karna hi hai mere ko. This I cannot believe it. It could be from personal experience. It could be from your research you're doing, or from somebody else you worked with. Maybe you worked in a startup or a company and you saw an idea and you said, you know what, this is a pain my customer, I can see them. This I can solve. And it's a long journey. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. In fact, it is a marathon of sprints, right? You run and then take a little break, run and then you take a break, right? It's a marathon. You cannot think of it as, okay, 2 years, make money, go out. And it takes a toll on emotional life, on your personal life. So you make sure that, you have some money in the bank. If you guys have at least maybe a year, right? Expenses. If you have, if not, you guys are students, most of you guys are, it's very easy for you to do entrepreneurship now versus when you have, 20 years down the road, you have 2 kids to go to college, right? Your responsibilities also go up. But age is no bar, though, I'm just saying. So I think 2 things. One is you need to think about why you want to be an entrepreneur, why you want to be a founder. And second is there a strong idea that is haunting you? It's keeping you up at night, as Mr. Rao said, right? Yeah.
So I'll be the bearer of bad news, right? Being the person, where the rubber hits the road, right? See, my job is to look at, entrepreneurs and say, okay, this is not investable, you're not investable, right? So to the question, is entrepreneurship for everybody? No, right? I actually believe that it's not for everybody. Entrepreneurship is a very painful journey. Swadeep actually, ironically hit the nail on the head by throwing out, name, Vijay Sharma, right? All the big guys, all the poster boys that we know about, let's say Vijay Sharma or an Ashneer Grover or a Byju's Ravindran, today, wealth has come, problems have come along with it, right? The effort it takes to be an entrepreneur is not for everybody, right? It requires a level of perseverance, a level of enthusiasm. There is a famous investor that I look up to, and he says, chips on shoulders, put chips in pockets, right? There has to be something that is paining you. There has to be something that is driving you. There has to be something that, you are trying to get to. Because when you get to be an entrepreneur, you are sweeping your office if, the maid doesn't come in, right? You are paying bills if, you don't have an administrator. You're running pretty much every part of that company is yours, right? So it's a responsibility that you really need to want to take, aspire to take. The problem that you are willing to solve for must be the driving force that you are willing to overlook all of this. I tell you, I had a conversation 2-3 days ago with a founder, at 7:30 in the morning. He calls me, Manu, I was not able to sleep last night, right? Some investor who had committed to investing, looked like he was backing out. Like, I don't know, whether we can make payroll this month, right? And that is the type of conversations, that is the type of problems that you should be willing to, countenance, right? Definitely not for LinkedIn tag, like Satya said, or, it should not be for that. There should be a core problem. Today, entrepreneurship is extremely sexy. Today, entrepreneurship, everyone, thinks, because, back when I was studying here, or Swadeep was studying here, it wasn't the mean path. But today, everybody thinks, hey, this looks fancy and this is something that I can also do. But there should be something that should, drive you further. There should be a problem that you guys are willing to solve for. And it's a commitment. It's not a short-term commitment. Trust me, I'm the guy who writes these agreements. Or the lock that people will put on you after taking an investor's money is you're pretty much committing, the next 5, 7, 10 years of your life until my money is gotten back, right? And that's risk capital at an early stage. That's how the ecosystem works. So again, while I say this, not to discourage all of you, it's something that you should also keep in mind, before deciding to get into this ecosystem.
So I think a lot has been said, and I don't know if I can add anything. But let me ask a question. How many people still want to be an entrepreneur?
Good. I thought half will drop off.
So entrepreneurship is all of what you heard. But I think there is also, the question for a lot of you sitting there is, how do we find that match if we are the one? And that's often tough, right? It's tough because many of you may not have been in a workplace, may not have been responsible for tackling a challenge on your own. And therefore, one's own knowledge of how one responds may be limited. Maybe, given that you're still students, I would say maybe this is the time for discovery. Who are you truly? What really makes you tick? Are you somebody who draws energy from challenges because you want to solve it? Or are you somebody who is drained when you have challenge after challenge? By the way, even the entrepreneurs who draw energy from challenges, and most of them do, they also can be drained when you have challenge after challenge which seem to kind of go out of control. But if every challenge has your body contour up and your brain go into a tizzy, you may not want to do it, because it will be torture every single day. Every day there are challenges. The second thing is, you see entrepreneurs being these very confident, almost super beings when you see them in news, in magazines, in videos on YouTube or television. Super confident, very well educated. Often there is ego in that scenario, right? But entrepreneurs also are the first ones who learn how to have their egos trampled. So that happens every day. Every time somebody says no, and a lot of people say no to you, by the way. When you desperately need them to say yes, your ego is trampled. So you've got to be really, almost sans ego to survive those situations. So my only point is that when you are on campus, when you're studying, it's a good time to actually test some of these things out. Can you do small ventures when you're still on campus? Can you start to see how you respond? Can you start to see what you understand? I think the one thing that I do feel is that the best time to start is still when you're young, when you don't have, pretty much like Manu said, when you don't have responsibilities, when you have very little to lose. And there's no downside to that, frankly, because even if you fail, you have gained enormously in skills and knowledge and confidence and networks, which perhaps somebody else who graduated with you and took up a job would not have. There's no two ways about that. If you're the kind that's learning from everything that you're doing, even if you fail, that's tremendous amount of growth, and you will be well sought after. So again, but the choice is of course yours. Thank you.
Very nice. So how many of you actually want to start up but do not have a good idea? Anyone who feels that he doesn't have a good idea and needs a systematic approach to generating a good idea, right? So this is a question for Professor Satya. How can students actually identify hotspots and identify some good problem statements, just like you did for at least 6 of your deep tech startups, right? So what is that strategy that you follow? What is the mindset when you're narrowing down to a particular niche while creating a startup?
Can I pass this question? The reason why I said that is 2 or 3 things. One is I do have plenty of ideas, and unfortunately I cannot find enough founders to work with, and I don't have the bandwidth to work with so many founders in the first place. So I think finding ideas is not the biggest issue. But I think the more important thing is, you can't certainly say that I want to be an entrepreneur no matter what idea I have to work on, because the idea has to actually become something that you own. That means, as we have been talking about here, many times it could be actually out of some personal experience, right? And you feel very passionate about that particular idea and so on. So you can't kind of like go shop for ideas. To me, that seems a bit artificial. That's the reason why I want to kind of pass this question. Yeah, but then you can actually be part of an ecosystem. You can be part of others who are actually watching what other people are doing, and so on. One day you'd actually you may get it. So the best thing is to actually position yourself and be prepared, right? So opportunity knocks the prepared mind. So that's what I would say, rather than rush into just saying that, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't have an idea. Doesn't sound right to me.
So we actually have a lot of student entrepreneurs who have created pitch decks, MVPs, but now they're not able to translate those MVPs to products, right? So there's some incubation gap. So we have with us Mr. Raghu. So I just had this question. A lot of students are facing problem with getting incubated, right? So what are some metrics that an incubator looks while onboarding a startup? And also a second part to this question. Yeah, at what point of stage should a startup realize that, okay, they're ready to get incubated, right?
First of all, you don't have to get incubated. Let me make this point clear. You don't have to get incubated. This is like a, if you think that, this is like a relay race. I have got an idea, I've built a prototype. By the way, you don't build an MVP. An MVP is a product where there is a customer. So you need to first understand the journey from your idea to, let's say, market. So when I hear startup people coming and saying, I'm working on an MVP, well, all they're working with is an idea and a deck of slides and maybe, a little more. I know that they haven't thought through what they're doing. So a good starting point is to understand what the journey from an idea for a startup is all the way to the market. And an incubator does not have to be a pit stop, right? It's just that if you're in an institution like this, there is an ecosystem here which helps you, right, do a few things that you need not do, and you can focus on, doing something more. If you are a first-time entrepreneur and you want to kind of take advantage of that, that's a good thing to do. But it is not necessary that you have to go through an incubator. All right? So that's first thing. Now, having said that, by the way, GDC is also not an incubator. We work with incubators. We have 7 incubators on campus here and counting. I don't know how many we have. I've counted 7, right? So we work with all of them, and we work with another 50 all over India. So we are not an incubator. No, we're not an incubator at all, right? So what we do is we help people think through like founders, right? That's really what is a founder's mentality, right? Should you be an entrepreneur? Should this idea be built? We don't tell you, but we help you answer those questions. That's what GDC does. But to answer the question, what does it take for you to get to be an incubator? I think you need to first think about, look, do you own the idea and are you really one with the idea? Or is it somebody else's idea that you're trying to build up with? Second, if you have internalized the point that, I don't know whether Swadeep made or Manu made, entrepreneurship is for life. It's a career choice. It's not a side hustle that you can do. If you are, then you need to be extremely lucky to succeed. It is what you do for the next 30 years. Be prepared for it. Okay? And you don't even know in what form it will come up. So for you to go to become acceptable to a first seed investor outside yourself and your family, or to an incubator, or to anyone else subsequently, like an angel or anyone else, I'm not even going to a VC. You've got to answer this question. Why is this startup? And why me? Am I the right guy? Do I have the right team? And why this startup? For whom? What problem is it solving? If you can answer these questions, not just for yourself, but so that some other people can have, some acceptance of it, I think you will start getting accepted. Whether it's an incubator, whether it's a seed investor or anyone else. Okay, that's it for me.
So my next question is for Swadeep, sir. Most successful student startups are from IITs, right? Students from tier 2 and tier 3 colleges are also trying to start up, but eventually the rate of failure is much higher when compared to IITs, right? So what is that magical push in the IIT ecosystem? What are those basic pillars that uphold the startup ecosystem of IIT that is creating this magic?
So do we have multiple audience here from different colleges, or is it mostly IITian? Here from, not from IIT Madras. Raise your hands. I'm talking about how many are?
So we have students from the BS degree program, right? So most of the students are also doing a dual degree.
Yeah. Sorry? Okay. So the question is, what do we have in IIT which where others don't? Or I didn't get the question 100% because. So they need to.
What are the pillars of the IIT ecosystem, startup ecosystem, that is facilitating students to start better and create sustainable businesses? And this is something which is not available for students of tier 2 and 3 colleges. And how is PanIIT trying to democratize this IIT ecosystem?
So that's a multi-pronged question here. So maybe I'll also add some more flavor to this, right? What do you guys need to do in the early stages of a startup? And see, people like Professor Satya are already there in the ecosystem, right? They've built the combustion lab. There's so many incubators on campus. Yeah, I think it's going in and out, right? That's what I felt. So IIT Madras, I think, is definitely one of the top institutes in the country in terms of the quality of deep tech startups that are coming out, right? I mean, I'm not talking about 5-minute deliveries companies, but I'm talking about actual, true, I mean, nothing wrong with that. I use it all the time. I love it, and VCs love it, great. But I'm saying true innovations, right? Like GalaxEye, for example, or Agnikul, and or AutoNxt. They're truly building innovative companies ground up, right? And for that, you need a whole system of mentors, you need access to labs, you need 3D printing, you need professors who are actually doing research, you need industrial, you need investors like this gentleman on my left, and there's a whole ecosystem of people who are actually helping this go to the next level, right? It cannot be just one. So, and IIT Madras, I think, is one of the few institutes in the country who has cracked that, if you notice. Right? Multiple companies have come out of IIT Madras, including Iyer has come out, right? Planis and Detect, and so many companies that have not necessarily student run, but also because of and by the way, many of them have started on campus, I think, right? Agnikul is again on campus. I mean, Iyer, Iyer, how many of you know Iyer? Right? Iyer, Tarun is a good friend, he's a junior, he started on campus. And the advantage we have here is immense compared to others. And they're opening up completely. IIT Madras is not fixed only. IIT Madras Research Park is open to everybody, right? GDC is open to everybody. It's not, they work in 50 colleges. So we have access to, all of you have access to investments, money, funding, mentorship. You have all that. Somebody has to just take the, say, yeah, this is it. I love this idea. I'm going to go after it. And I think when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I don't think any issue there.
Thanks. Yeah. So my next question.
Agnikul co-founders are not IITians.
They are incubated here.
Yeah, they're working out of IIT Madras.
Tier 3, tier 2, tier 3. You can't call them that, but non-IITians doesn't mean.
I want to make a correction. I think in GDC's experience, there are as many founders outside of IIT system than in the IIT system. We work with about 6 or 7 IITs and about another 50 or 60 colleges which are non-IIT. So I think there's more hunger outside.
I think it's a matter of perception and attitude, nothing more. I don't think data supports the IIT, non-IIT divide, actually.
In fact, there are more non-IITian founders as unicorns than IITians. 70% are non-IITians, in fact, right?
So my next question is for Manu, sir. As an early stage VC fund, what do you look for in student-led startups? Like, how can they become more attractive to investors and VCs? And how can they close funding, right? So that is the question that most of the students really want to know. So we want a perspective from you.
Sure. So just a quick, interlude here. So I've not been a professor unlike Professor Satya, but so as we have this universe of people in the audience today, right? So we have people who want to be founders, people who don't want to be founders, and then there is like ek banda who's like, "Bhai, mujhe AC mein sone do." So it's I've not had that experience where people are like, "Hey, it's we're droning on and on," and that it's funny. See, the main thing that, first thing I think to kind of add on to what three of them said before me, execution is far, far greater than idea, right? Ideas are a dime a dozen. Everyone has an idea. Everyone is like, bhai, ye idea मैंने उस दिन ही सोचा, मैं college में बात मतलब when we were walking to Gurunath, I thought about it, you know. I myself, right, I've had that conversation like 2-3 years before Red Bus started, me and a friend were talking about it on the way to Gurunath, right? Yeah, we should have gotten that money. Faninder Sama ko kisne diya paisa, right? But that's the easy thing to say. It's so low hanging. The real value is in execution. And that's where it falls apart for most people. People are like, to get, you know, rubber hits the road, to get to execution, face the challenges, face investors, face customers, you know, manufacture or find somebody to buy into your idea, support you. It's a long haul, right? It's not easy. So fundamentally that comes back to, for us it comes back to people. One is, you know, a good product, good technology, good idea. That's one side of it. The other side of it is figuring out, is this guy or these guys or, you know, this group of founders, and I use, you know, I mean, is this group able to execute? Are they able to persevere through hard work? If a problem hits them, right, are they able to iterate? Are they able to move to the next door, next door, next door? But all this while keep banging, right? Keep knocking on that door saying, okay, you know, checking will it open? That ability to persevere is one of the most important things, right? An investor will say, give me a business plan, give me a projection, you know, 5 years, 10 years out. But I mean, and I'm not trying to be dismissive of it. It's more to think, have you thought through the ideas? But I know how much of the actual business plan that I saw 5 years ago for a company and how I see that company today, I know how much that delta works out to be, right? The company itself might be doing something 180 degrees apart, right? So it's more the ability of the founder to persevere, ability of the founders to persevere, work hard, and, you know, get to that stage where they have enough people supporting them, enough people backing them to take things forward. And in that context, I think you guys are in that, you know, Goldilocks zone, right? You say Earth is in the Goldilocks zone, which can support life. I think you guys are in that Goldilocks zone where it is a fantastic time to be an entrepreneur. There is support from every single direction that you want. I mean, the incubation, GDC, incubators, accelerators, foundations, investors, everyone is around you. There is free capital that is available. You know, grants are available. So it's an absolutely fantastic time to do it. So if you do have an idea, you do, and you are convinced that you are willing to buckle down and, you know, hit the road, it's a great time to do it. So, you know, all the best to everyone who's kind of thinking along that path.
Thank you, sir. So my next question is for Sunita, ma'am. You can have a job, or you can have a career, or you can have a calling. And if somehow you identify what your calling is, then that is a great deal, right? So I want to know, how can students find their calling? A lot of students are so disillusioned seeing other ideas, other startups around them, that there's a certain amount of noise that creeps into their natural calling. How can we as students in this era of social media remove that noise and identify our calling and proceed? And how does Wadhwani Foundation help these student entrepreneurs move forward with their callings?
Oh, that's a tough question. How can you find your calling? What do I know about that? But jokes apart, I mean, almost the entire room said they want to be entrepreneurs. And only a handful of people picked up their hands when you asked how many do not have ideas. So everybody has an idea, correct? How many people have actually taken some action on that idea? There. I think these people probably have the inkling of a calling. Everybody else is sitting in a dream world. In the harshest of, ways to express it, that's what it is. Ideas are so cheap. If you don't have a propensity to take action, how are you going to figure it out? For any kind of calling, if you don't have the propensity to take action, nobody else can tell you that. I mean, I don't think the Wadhwani Foundation can do anything magical to show people what their calling is. I don't think that. I mean, if you want to explore entrepreneurship, want to know what it is all about, want to figure out if it is for you, we can bring you into a program, have other like-minded people be working with you, put you through a rigorous process of, let's say creating a practice venture where you're not doing it in the classroom but out in the market, for you to see if that's something that actually talks to you, speaks to you, resonates with you or not. That's what we can do. But frankly, this is not just about entrepreneurship. It's, figuring out what your calling is. The only thing that's required is propensity for action. If you feel you want to join the finance, industry, and if you've never bothered to read up what's happening, if you don't, look at news channels that are focused on finance, how does it matter what you say? It doesn't. What you're not doing is what matters. So I think you need to really look at what you think you're interested in and then ask yourself, what have you done there? Because that's the only way to move on that line, on that pathway. For the foundation, like I said, you've all heard from my other colleagues as well. We run, both formal credit programs to help youngsters get a true feel for what you might have to go through, to understand what the early stage steps could be, to understand what the indicators of success in each of those can be, and for you to put yourself through that rigor and see what you're made of. The advantage of having an academic program is that you can also get credits for it. But if you're going in only for the credits, then I would suggest you go find something easier to do, because this is a tough program. The other ways in which we support are that there are multiple programs. If you have a step ahead and you're already working on a prototype and you want to really start to figure out if you should be investing more money into it, full-time work into it, then there are programs, the lift-off programs, which are, again, there are tiered programs. For those that have taken the step and are looking to raise funding, there is preparatory program to kind of, again, it's all about, a lot of entrepreneurs, actually, let me say that, a lot of entrepreneurs will never need any program. That's the reality. They're going to do it, they're going to figure it out, but those are the ones that have potentially, they're the ones who will fall today and get up in the next 1 hour and go figure out if there is an alternative way of doing things, right? And some of it is just built like that, baked like that. Many others need to really learn through developing certain skills and getting some experience, figuring out yourself through those experiences. And I think the programs are for people like that, who actually think that going through structured learning could be, practical structured learning could be their way. So yeah, and I mean, apart from the academic programs, we work with eCells, with Vishakh is running some student organizations as well. And there are a lot of boot camps that are done, which actually allow you to come in, go through 2-3 days of rigorous work to see if you can identify a problem that's close to your heart. And when I say identify, it's not just about that idea that is, kind of sitting in your head somewhere, but it's about digging deep into it to say what's really the problem. So there are programs like that that the foundation provides, and the intent is to really see if you can surface up, both your interest and work deeper into your programs. Again, take those actions that are required if you want to do anything in this space, and to really see if you want to take the next step. Because it's not like you make a decision today, I want to be an entrepreneur, and then no matter what, you're going to be an entrepreneur. That's not how it works. It's like a series of decisions that you keep making. Do I have a problem that's worth solving? Am I the right person to be solving it? Should I invest my money now? Should I ask my parents for money to put into developing some prototype? Where else can I get? Can I get a scholarship somewhere which will allow me to, develop this further? There are a lot of decisions. And again, all will demand action from you. So I think it's not a one-time decision. It's a series of things that leads you finally to say, okay, giving up everything else, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. So for that, you have to engage in ecosystems, engage in conversations, engage in programs. Again, the choice is yours. You will know best whether just having conversations is enough for you and you are driven to do things on your own, or you need to kind of go through some structured programs. And if you feel that you need to go through structured programs, then yes, the foundation has a lot of things that are on offer.
Thank you, ma'am. So since we are already running short on time, we would first like to take some questions from the audience. So, yeah. Srijal, please facilitate the...
Hello. Namaste board. Myself Sagar Gujarati and I'm from Banaras. First of all, thank you for the knowledge that you have shared with us. It means a lot to us. And the thing is, sir, my question is related to how do we find, I'm starting my own startup, sir. So I'm just single one right now. So sir, how should we start, how should we find that guy with, I don't have tech background, मतलब मुझे tech का ज़्यादा knowledge नहीं है अभी, तो मुझे ये समझ नहीं आता कि मेरे को tech की चीज़ें बनानी है, तो मैं tech वाले को कैसे खोजूँ, that guy, that one guy, वो मेरे लिए बहुत दिक्कत होता है, that tech guy जो मेरे साथ रह के चीज़ें बनाए.
Well, you can let me take it, you can add to this. I think if you have decided to be a founder, one of the jobs of a founder is to find a co-founder. It's as important as finding an idea, finding a customer.
What's your...
Absolutely. Now, how do you find it? How do you get your calling?
So what's the, what is the main common thing you all have in your co-founder? कि आपको लगता है this is my co-founder?
You should be the founders for the same reason. You should believe in the same
vision.
Vision, passion, all of that. If that is not there, you're headed up for, something not very nice. That's the commonality. But you should definitely have different skill sets, ideally. You grew up together, next room neighbor, we bunked class together, went to movie together. They are not good reasons for being a startup founders. Bad reasons. Okay.
Sir, I have a second question.
Audible? Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, esteemed people. As a youngster looking at this from the outside, I resonated very strongly with what Iyer sir said when the rubber hits the road, and I'm very disturbed by the prevalence of the hype cycle in technology development. For instance, 4 years ago, I used to study about transformers and recursive convolutional neural networks, and nobody knew about them and nobody cared about them. Everybody was talking about Bitcoin and EdTech. today everybody thinks of themselves as an expert on transformers. So what happens to startup founders when they are left out of the hype cycle? Or does technology only develop when it hits that sweet Goldilocks zone in terms of its timing as well?
So I think one of the hardest jobs of an entrepreneur is to time the market, right? In fact, that is one of the single most important reasons why startups fail. In fact, there was a study that's done across 100 startups, and they said, okay, what is the number one reason? People thought it is money. People thought it's maybe wrong co-founder. It was timing. So timing of the market is so, you can't go so deep that, okay, it's already crowded. You can't go so early that even investors are like, it's too far-fetched of an idea. The people are like, Elon Musk can go to the Mars anytime, right? But not everybody is an Elon Musk, right? So it's very important to time the market. So you have to, I don't know, it's a combination of multiple things, right? People who are mentoring you, people, you're looking at understanding of the ecosystem. How deep is your understanding of the ecosystem, right? Of that domain that you're working in. So then that will give you an idea and saying that, yes, this potentially could possibly be the next 5-10 years down the road, the biggest technology out there, right? So I know it's a hard question, but there's no right or wrong answer to it.
Sir, but more than that, I'm disturbed by the fact that this window is shortening. If you look at it, social media had a solid 10 years. And then following technologies, whether it was deliveries and all, they also had their own run. Payment apps had their own run. Bitcoin had 3 years. We don't know how long this AI wave will last.
No, so AI is here to stay.
But the hype cycle.
The AI is here to stay. There's no question about that. I hope I'm going to make myself, I am 110% sure AI is here to stay. Question is not about AI. Question is about generative AI, for example, right? You're talking about transformers. So it is definitely a hype. There's a bubble and it's going to burst. The question is, the ones that are building fundamental businesses are going to last. The ones who are able to take advantage of this early stage and crack the market and get a market traction, they're going to make it big. But there will be lots of people left behind otherwise.
I'm a bit surprised about this entire question, right? What problem are you trying to solve? Who cares about that problem, right? What is the market size? That's all really matters. Whether it is AI, whether it is generative, whether it is transformer, whether it is, Bitcoin, whatever it is, they're all flavor of the season. If you have a problem that you're actually going to solve that matters to people, you are actually weatherproof. Okay, you just have to only make sure that somebody else is actually not going to solve the same problem, perhaps in a different way or the same way that you are tackling at it. That actually is the market competitive landscape that you'll have to be aware of. Okay, that's the only thing. Why do you care about all these things? I just don't understand.
I agree with your premise. See, there is, like Swadeep said, I think it's super important timing, right? When you enter, when you are solving for a particular problem, right, makes a very big difference, right? I was just telling Sunita ma'am about a VR startup that we recently invested in, but they've been around for 12 years, right? Tech was not there then. The hype, let's say, of an Apple or a Vision Pro being in the market and entering was not there. Today, they are finding significant traction. 10 years back, they raised money from a large investor. VC money, went up, came back down, close to liquidation. We entered, a couple of years back, right? So there is value to the, timing of it. I think what you are more thinking about is the ability to capture a nice alpha or capture a nice valuation or, a lot of interest just because that is the flavor of the season. It's easier to probably get funded when, Dogecoin and Shibu coin and, everything else was getting funded. You can also throw your hat into the ring and, Iyer coin or something and, do a coin launch and see how that goes. But that's not core technology at the end of the day. What I think there is, you kind of have to find that overlapping segment of, building that core technology and finding that right time. I don't completely think that just having core technology, I think what happens is that you'll get lost in the process of other stuff that is, happening, which is looking a lot sexier and which is looking a lot more interesting. You might get lost in the midst of it. So it is finding the overlap of those two.
Sir, it would mean so much to me if you could just give me 5 red flags that you as an investor see that, helped you to sort the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. That this is how you know that this is a flavor of the season kind of guy, as opposed to somebody who's been working on it perpetually.
It's not so much 5 red flags. I think, for me, one red flag is just people who think they are entitled to something, right? People who come in and say, I need to be funded and, have some crazy valuation in mind. When you actually pull back the layers and look at what has been built, there is very little that is actually there in terms of core technology. And that's a lot more significant for us because we are talking deep tech. In execution, it's still, you can talk about. So when you think about startups, you bundle them into, at least how we bundle them is execution-led and IP-led startups, right? And so for us, it is very important to see what that IP, science, moat is. We need to get to that. So we need to peel back those layers. And a lot of times when we do peel it back, it's not ChatGPT, but it's ChatGPT ke upar I've built some, layer on top, right? And it's trying to understand that tech, I would say, and that's super important for us. I think it just goes back to the ability. I mean, one is finding good technology, the other is finding perseverant founders, right? For me, I think the second part is far more important.
So, thank you, Manu, sir. So now, since some of our panelists have a flight to catch, we need to end the discussions here. So a few last words from Professor Satya's Agni-Ban journey, right? So just a minute on that, sir.
Oh, you mean like about...
The audience want to know the journey of the first 3D printed rocket. So just in a short...
Yeah, I think my co-founders came up to me in 2017 and what I did not know about them is that they apparently had contacted about 80 other professors in the country, and I was the only idiot who said yes. And I don't know why I did. So we started working together. The NCCRD was wide open for them to make use of. So they started working together on the injectors and the igniters and all that stuff that are like the most basic elements of the rocket. Well, we also actually had a lot of strategy sessions where we wanted to decide whether we will do solid rockets or liquid rockets, whether it will be semi-cryo, all of those kinds of things. There were like about 50 different configurational studies that were done on these different combinations and so on. There were also a lot of strategic discussions on whether it's okay to actually do solid rockets out of India. Will we get international investors if we did a dual use technology? Not that liquid rockets cannot be used for other purposes. We also had no idea whether India would actually permit us to launch from our soil, and so does it make sense to be an Indian company in the first place? So lots of such very existential questions about the whole thing. While there, we also actually wanted to focus on the technology, and as I said, we started developing a lot of details about the engine, then built the engine around the injectors, and started getting the first engines to be fired. Fortunately, we had the new campus where we could get some remote safety location with the safety distance where we could set up things. But we were actually completely working out of temporary, containers. So even now, if you actually go to the other campus and see, most of it will actually be out of containers, which means that at some point in the not so distant future, we are expected to vacate the place. So just about day before yesterday, our director has actually agreed to put something that I've always been wanted to happen, put like a stone there that says that this is where the world's first most 3D printed rocket was fired and so on. So this is actually part of entrepreneurship. Nothing is really permanent. Okay, so we will have to vacate that place, move on to a bigger place or whatever it is. Right? All these things will keep on happening while we have to stay focused on what's the next big thing to focus. And the Agni bond sorted actually turned out to be actually very, very grueling. We started thinking that we can do this in about 3 to 4 months, sometime in July of 2022. It has taken like about close to 2 years, right? So, and then even the launch itself actually took about 2 months for us to perfect from March onwards. So what I realized in March, on March 22nd, when we were supposed to launch first time with a lot of fanfare, was that we were ready with the product, but we were not ready with ourselves to be able to launch it, literally, right? So then there are two different things. A product is different from a process. So these are things that we have actually learned extremely the hard way. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. And very, very congratulations for this amazing feat. So with this, we will be wrapping up this amazing panel discussion. I hope you found this panel very insightful and you would leverage these insights to start your journey in entrepreneurship. So with this, we would like to present some mementos to all our panels. The dignitaries from IITM are not available because the schedule got delayed and they had to go for other commitments. So I would like to call Srijal, our coordinator for this event, to hand over the mementos. So thank you everyone for joining this amazing discussion. Last but not the least, we would like to take a photo with the entire panel. So, yeah. हाँ लिखो